10 o'clock in North America. On David, it's 10 p.m. in the evening in Australia, so bear with him. He had already a long day behind him.
Yeah, I'm just thinking when Amy mentioned the GPUG chapters. Well, we've got a chapter that's not in a state that's not even in the USA. So there you go.
Yes, that's
all right.
David, your slides are slightly chopped off on the bottom, so it's an issue with the screen size, I guess.
It shouldn't be. Is that okay there?
No, still chopped off.
I'm not sure I can deal with that right now. We'll move on anyway.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
it's okay. So, it's only the banner on the bottom.
Yep. So we'll do a quick introductions, and then we're going to have a little bit of the history of the support debugging tool, which is now GP Power Tools. The bulk of this time will be a demonstration of a number of features for different types of users, and then we'll hopefully have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. So I'll introduce myself. I'm David Musgrave, the Managing Director of Winthrop Development Consultants. I am a Microsoft MVP, also a GPUG All-Star. Thank you to everybody who voted for me. I spent 13.5 years of my life working for Microsoft, but over a year ago I left them, and I have now got my soul back, so that's great. I live in Winthrop, which is a suburb in Perth. That's why the name comes from. Just to give you an idea where Perth is, it's that little red dot on the left-hand side. Perth is a beautiful place, and it's in a beautiful country, and I would love every one of you to come down under and visit. We have a beautiful park, and this is actually the view from Kings Park, which is bigger than New York's Central Park, and it's the view across to the city of Perth, which is just an awesome place.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Bucher. Hello, everyone. I am a business analyst working for Ultra Electronics Forensic Technology, former Forensic Technology, since the past 7 years now. And I have too been nominated and awarded as an MVP, Microsoft MVP, last year. GPUG All-Star as well since 2013, thanks to the support of the community. Living in Montreal currently, it's the eastern part of Canada on the east coast, the second largest city in Canada actually, or the third largest city in Canada. I'm coming originally from Switzerland. I was raised in Bucher. Not born, but raised in Bucher, and we'll see where Bucher is on the map in Switzerland, which is a very, very, very tiny location and very tiny, small village. Only 600 inhabitants at the time I lived there. Has now doubled, I think, to 1,200, about according to the latest survey or census. And as David showed there, it's mostly farmland and forest land, and this is the map of the city, satellite view. The yellow square is my school, where I went when I was a child for about 3-4 years, and then moved on to the next village for high school. And the orange square is where my house was, close, so I walk that every day down and uphill, because it doesn't show here, but it's up and downhill. And I had a fun time there, so it was a nice place to live in. Not a big city at all.
Different to Montreal.
Yeah, a whole different story.
Okay, so just before we get started, we'll get Amy to run a couple of polls for us. We're interested in just finding out what users have used for whether they've used the support debugging tool or GP Power Tools or both or neither. Amy, if you're able to put that poll up, that'll be awesome.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Okay, so y'all should see the survey on your screen. You can go ahead and make your selections here, and we'll give you just a few moments to do that.
And no cheat. There are about 20 people participating already today, so we know the math should be good.
Looks like results are still coming in. I'll give everybody just a few more seconds. Okay, and I'm going to close the poll here in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so it looks like we got 25% support debugging tools, 44% neither, and 25% both. 6% GP power tools.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
So 25 support
Well,
debugging, 6% GP.
okay, so that's good. It gives us an idea. We've got a few people who are new to power tools, and we've got a few that have come from the support debugging tool. And welcome to those people who have used neither. Hopefully we'll show you why it is such a cool tool to use and why it will be worthwhile you installing on your system. So, all right, so we'll continue with our agenda. So basically, a little bit of history. So the support debugging tool was created back in 2006. I originally, it took a while before I got permission to release it publicly, which was in 2008. This is while I was part of Microsoft. The last release was in September. I actually released it the day before I was called into the office to be told that I was being made redundant. When I left Microsoft in October 2014, the support debugging tool was discontinued. I negotiated with Microsoft to get the rights, and in March 2015, I got the rights to the products and have re-released and rebranded it as GP Power Tools in 2015. So it is now available for all the current versions, and there will soon be code for GP 2016 available as well. It's distributed and supported worldwide by my partner McCorma. So if you're interested in buying it, you can look at the Winthrop site, but you need to get it from McCorma. So GP Power Tools, and we're going to talk and demonstrate GP Power Tools because the support debugging tool doesn't actually exist anymore. It is still downloadable from the Winthrop site for versions 8, 9, and 10, but anything later than that, GP Power Tools is the only product available. So just a quick bit of information. It has two modes or windows that operate in two modes. We've got standard mode, which are features that are safe for all users to use, and then advanced mode features which allow you to either access, to view, or change data. The advanced modes require the user to have either system administrator status at the SQL level or database owner status at the SQL level. And if you have a system password in your GP system, it will also ask for that before a window opens. So it's very protected. We do have a recommended configuration, and I'm not going to go through too much detail, but if you want it working properly, it needs to be installed on all workstations. You can store your logs in a central location, and you set up your security accordingly. It also has SQL profile tracing, which you can set up as well as an additional logging method. So as I mentioned before, support debugging tool is no longer supported and it has been discontinued. You can download the older versions, but everything new you need to get from McCorma now. All right, so the product contains features that can be used by lots of different types of users. So we're going to try and cover some of those for each one. I will also, when we're doing our demo, we will highlight some of the features that are in GP Power Tools that don't exist in the support debugging tool. So now, if you feel like tweeting, probably don't need to use the summit anymore, but the hashtag GPPT and MSstein group, MSstein GP, still valid. If you would like to clap, cheer, whistle, and stomp your feet when you find something exciting, please feel free to do that. We won't be able to hear you, but it would be lovely to know that you're doing it. All right. So just before we get to the next bit, we have a second poll which will just give us an idea of what sort of user base we have out there. So Amy, can you just quickly throw up the other poll?
Yes, I can. Okay. So.
Yes, it can.
If you were at the summit session, you would have noticed we did actually ask with each of the features or with each of the issues whether the GP Power Tools can help, and the answer from the audience was yes, it can, and it was a lot of fun. But without you guys having the sound, it's not quite the same.
Okay, we've got 85%, we've got 90% have voted, 95%.
And we have 3 attendees more.
Excellent.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll in 3, 2, 1. And let's see, when I share them, can you all see them up there on the screen?
Yep, that looks great.
So what were the percentages?
Let's try that.
58% system administrators, 16% support engineers, 11% developers, and 16% end users. So quite a good chunk of system administrators.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, that's great.
That's our target audience.
Yeah. It's one of them, yeah. So basically, if we show you a feature that doesn't quite make sense to you, please don't worry about that. But if you have someone in your organization that would find that useful, it's more just to let you know the sort of things that are capable of being done. So that way you can just pass on the information to other people in your organization. In fact, you can even get them to watch the recorded session.
Yes. All right. So, David, are you ready to go?
We're ready to go.
Good. We'll start today with a few nice functionalities in the support GPUG, GP Power Tools. Sorry about that. I have used that product since so long. I still call it support debugging tool, but it's GP Power Tools now. So don't get that confused. Well, during the introduction, we have seen that the GP Power Tools had been initially created by David to raise some and solve some issues that they had as a he had as a support engineer at Microsoft, and was he needed to be able to identify some of those issues and have a product or a tool to reproduce those steps. So what we're going to show you today is how to use the tool on your place with your systems to solve some of those similar issues you may face in your day-to-day work. So simplified scenarios here that we're going to start with is a customer that was placed on hold, but the other users, regular users, wouldn't know how to fix the problem or why this is happening. So the first task will be to identify the field from where this is coming from, in which table this is stored, the information about the hold. So David, let's go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to use initially. I'm going to use the old style navigation, which is what people would know from the support debugging tool, which is coming off the tools menu, and that will open up the main window. And from there, I can hit options, and I'm actually going to go to the resource information window. So I've got this in form mode, and I've got this checkbox saying show currently selected window, and I've got that selected. So then what I'm going to do is, in our situation, we are trying to track how the customer hold checkbox is being enabled or selected. We don't know how that's happening. That's just a small example that we're going to do. So as I tab through this window, you'll notice that the resource information window is updating with the field that I'm on, so I can actually track exactly where I am. So I want to know what's happening with this hold field, and so I can see that its name is hold. Now, the other thing is I want to know what table it's in. So if I ask it to show me the associated tables on that form, and it is filtering to ones that have that field hold, straight away I know that it's in the RM Customer Master. So now, there are other tables there, but only RM Customer Master has that column in it. All right.
So now that we know the details, yeah, on that table and that field, we need to find out what causes this change. So there must be something happening in the background, right?
Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually set up a trigger to monitor that table and see if we can actually track what's happening. So we're actually going to set up two. We're going to monitor one on the window, and we'll set another one at the table level. So I'm going to use the other navigation now. So if I go click on the area page, you'll see that GP Power Tools has its own area page. And I'm going to go into the automatic debugger mode setup. So this is where we can set up our triggers. So I'm going to create the first one, and we'll just call it Demo 1. And this is going to be looking for the table hold event.
Yeah.
So we're going to go there, table hold. All right, so trigger type is going to be based on a table. It's going to be checked when we save the table and run after the table. We need to put in the table name, so I will just quickly use the lookup. So I can come in here and I can go and look up the table. It's the sales series. It's the
Customer table.
Yep. I can't see it, so where am I gone? There it is, Customer Master Logical Table. I'm Customer Master, and we'll go and find the hold field. There it is. And okay, so we've got all of that. Now I could have just typed that as well. Probably would have been quicker because I knew what I wanted to type. So then what we want to do is I want to set this to automatically start. So this will now start when I log in. We're going to go to Actions, and we're going to ask it to do a few things. So I'm going to ask it to show the desktop alert. I'm going to ask it to send the email to the administrator. I'm going to ask it to export the data and also capture screenshots, and I'll make it include all of that. So, all right, so I'm going to save that one, but actually before I do, there's the script. So this is the script. It's built automatically, and this is actually looking for the error condition. In this case, the error condition is that the hold checkbox is not empty, which means it's been checked. So that script was built for me, and in this case, I have no reason to change it. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I'm capturing all the different logs, and I'll do a small trace. Okay, so that's that one done. I'm going to create a second one, Demo 2. And this is going to be on the window. So it's a similar sort of process. I'm going to look for the window hold field. It's going to be a focus event. It's going to be on the field change event one after the original. And okay, customer maintenance. The window's the same. The field is hold. All right, actions. So I'm going to make it show a system dialog. The script is already in there for me. I'm going to just use that. And what I will do is I'm going to say to it, I don't want you capturing all the logs here. So what we'll do is we'll just capture dexterity script log, and we'll get rid of that SQL one. We'll just capture these guys because it's not actually doing anything at SQL level when you click on that checkbox anyway. And I'm also going to make sure that it automatic start, and I'm going to only restart the selected logs. So it's only going to restart these logs, so these logs will be continue running. So save. All right, so that's it. We've created some triggers. So I'm going to actually turn them on. I could actually log out and come back, but I'm just going to turn them on manually.
Yeah, because that would happen the next time a user would just log in into GP, right?
Yep. So if we got in here, you'll see there the triggers are running.
Good.
Okay. So let's go back to sales.
Our customer card.
And customers. And we'll bring up everybody's favorite.
Yeah, Aaron Fitz.
Okay, so now when I actually click on these, you will see the initial .trigger fire, and then you should see the emails generate when I save. So we'll click on the first one, and there you go. I've got a warning that it's been changed, and it's captured the logs. So that's actually the dexterity script log and the script profile, and it's also recorded a macro of us doing that. And when I hit save, it's going to happen fairly quickly, but it will do a whole lot of other things. And let me grab.
Just saw.
You saw some stuff come through, but it has just generated these two emails. So first of all, is an email telling us that the trigger is fired and that it saved the logs. So here's all the logs that it's saved, 5 different logs, including screenshots and a copy of the data. This here is the screenshots. So she hasn't labeled them, but
just take the default photo.
There you go. There's one of the windows that was open. It also includes the dex.ini files and the dynamics.set file and a system summary which tells you everything about the system. So this is actually telling me all the versions, all my environment variables, all my databases, all the folders that I've got set up, and then it tells me every single dictionary, what version it is, whether or not it can, what's the path, and whether it can find the custom forms and reports dictionaries. So from a support perspective, if somebody says, oh, I have installed that service pack, or I don't have this product installed, or I do have that product installed, you can see exactly what they've got installed and what version. So you can basically tell everything. And right down the bottom, it gives you a list of the screenshots that have been captured.
Yeah, that's actually a great information resource, isn't it, for those 54% of system administrators that we have with us today? Huh? All right, that was nice. So let's go on with the next demonstration. Let's do, David, some cleanup, but we'll go on with some activities where we can show you how you could leverage the GP Power tools to actually execute some SQL statements. How many times would you have loved to be able to just run a quick SQL statement and have not access to the SQL Management Studio because you weren't on your own workstation? So let's say you are on a workstations of a user and you don't have SQL Management Studio, but you have GP that is open. So David will show you how you can leverage that GP Power tools with SQL execution. Let's go on, GP.
Okie dokie. So just to give you an example, we'll pop open the SQL execute window in here, and I'm just going to create a script. I'll call it demo 1. And we're going to use this just to check what fields might be on hold, or sorry, what customers might be on hold. So now I'm going to actually type in this code using technical names, which if you're a Dexterity developer, you'll realize are the nice names that Dexterity has for fields rather than the physical names, which can be a bit cryptic at times, particularly for some of the field names. So I can actually type this in. Now there is a names feature where I can actually just look these names up as well, just like I did for the lookup of the on the other
of the whole field, yeah, on the resources, yes.
Yeah. So okay, so I've got a script here. So when I hit execute, you'll notice that it converts the script into physical names and then runs it.
That's nice.
Yeah. So, and there we go. So we know that Aaron Fitz is currently on hold, which makes sense because that's what we just did. So I'm just going to create a second script.
Notice that we can't even update the data there, right?
Yeah, so let's run an update statement. Oops. So again, I mean, you can use a combination of physical names so I could have actually put in the RM0, 101 if I wanted to, but you get the choice.
Or natural names, yes.
Yeah.
Either would work.
So all you got to do is if you're putting in a technical name, you just have it inside the quotes. So this bit of code is going to update the RM customer master for the hold if the hold is not 0, so it's going to clear. So I'll just save that for now. All right.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice if you could put those codes into the hand of the end user by just giving him a much simpler access to that code?
Okay. So one of the things we could do is we can sort of build an interface into it. So I'm actually going to use a runtime execute script. I'm pretty sure I have this one built already. Okay, so this runtime execute script is going to, if you have a look here, it is going to load the SQL script that I wrote as demo 1. It's going to, first of all will ask you to, a user interface is going to come up with a dialog and ask you to select a customer's ID beginning with a value. Then it will load the SQL script. It appends a where clause onto it and runs it. If it finds records, it then gives us the opportunity to clear those flags. So I'm going to, basically I've got this script here. So I'm reusing the SQL code that I already wrote. So, all right. But what happens if the user doesn't have the access to this window? Why don't we actually put it somewhere nice to use?
Yeah, we could create a shortcut somewhere.
So, well, where would be a good place? How about we could actually have it off the customer maintenance window?
Yep.
Makes sense?
Absolutely.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a menu choice onto here to allow that to happen. So I'm going to pop back into my scripting. And we'll create a demo 3. Okay. Add from menu, one level after. Okay. So this is actually not going to capture any logs. This is going to just be an option to add a menu. So I'm going to say don't activate the logging.
Yep.
In the menu here, I'm going to tell it that we want it to check and update hold. We'll put an accelerator key on it. Under the actions, I don't want it to do any actions. And under options, we won't do anything here. We're just going to go into add a bit of the code. So I'm just going to add a little bit of code in here. So
and the reason,
yep, go ahead.
The reason why David is creating all that stuff is because the runtime execute for the SQL code and SenScript code is only accessible to the administrator level of the GP Power tools. So if you want to hand this into the end user, you need to create those shortcuts or interface access for the regular user.
Okay, so I'm using a helper function here to load that script that I created, the runtime execute script. I'm going to load it, and then I'm going to execute it. Now, you might see here we actually have .NET scripting. We do actually have the ability to execute VB.NET and C# scripts as well. All right, so we just need to delete 1, 2, 3. Oops. Okay, so these two helper functions will do everything we need. Just indent and delete those. Okay, so that's all I need. Save that. We'll turn on the automatic debugger mode. So when we open our customer, and we should go to, is it hiding under here? Just check it, is it active? No, demo 3 is not active. Hold on a second. I must have done something wrong. Oh, this is always the fun of live demos.
Actions?
No, it looks right. I think it might have been that the customer maintenance window was already open.
Oh,
so
it should be reloaded.
Yeah, the menu, it should be adding an extra menu to it. If you turn it on.
Yes.
All right, window is closed. Automatic debugger mode is on. Okay, hold on. Non-logging automatic start.
Non-logging triggers. Here we go.
It's a non-logging trigger. So
yes.
There we go. All right, customer. Additional.
And here we have.
We've got check and update. So I can say, find me customer begins with B, and it says no rows returned. Find me a customer beginning with A, and it says Aaron Fitz. And I say, okay, do you want to clear? And I'll say yes, and it's completed. And if we pull up Aaron Fitz now, you'll see the hold is removed. So there we go.
That's nice. That's a fantastic one. You can clap. We don't hear you, but you can clap.
Oh, and Sam,
all right. All right, that was good. Now, let's go on and clean here up and go up with another demonstration of where GP Power tools can be very useful. We saw that we had a way to capture information about things that going behind the scene. Now, we have a customer who is trying to create a return from one of those additional menus. You know, some of those windows in GP, you have additional, and then you have a sales transaction entry. But they're getting a security privilege error. They're getting a warning or an error message saying you don't have access to that window, or they couldn't find a window. So we're going to use the GP Power Tools to show you how you can track the information that is missing to a given user to get access to that form that he can't currently access. So let's go on, David.
All right. So part of the issue was that when they were, this customer was trying to work out how to get this, they couldn't find the create return window. And they looked through all the way through the sales series in the Dynamics product, and they couldn't find it at all. So what we're going to just show you here is how resource information can help us. So I'm just going to type in the window name, create ret. I'm not worried about case because it's case insensitive. And I'm going to press tab. And it's come up and said, well, I found create retroactive. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
Not really that.
Yeah. Here we go, create return. Well, it turns out that the window is actually in field service, which would explain why they couldn't find it in Dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically now, I can from here go and say, all right, so
we could access the security module from here and figure out who has currently access to that form, right?
Yep. So this is going to show me now, and I can see, hold on, let me just make this a bit wider. All right, so this is the create return window, and I can see that DynSA has access and SA has access, but David doesn't.
But David has not.
All right. So now the thing is, if I need to know how to give access to this person, how do I know what tasks and roles I need to give them access to? Well, if I open up this system level node, let me Make this bigger. There we go. So we open up the system level node, and I know that I need to give them access to the TRX FFS RT01 task, and that belongs to either the RT agent or the RT manager role. So I straight away know what roles I need to change.
That's very easy. You just double-click on the user.
Yeah, I'm not going to change it now. I want to actually show people what actually happens as the error. So we can actually swap. This is the David user, and we pop into the sales transaction entry, and we go in here and we say create return, and
here it is.
Hold on.
Have you noticed the window that raises with the error message?
Yeah, I didn't want to. I wanted to get the original. I know. I wanted to get the original version first. So let's get it without that first. So I'm trying to get what they normally would see. There we go. So normally you just see this, which is not very helpful because you don't know which window, and you don't have any method of passing this information to your administrator.
Okay. Right. So that's where GP Power Tools can be very helpful as well, raising a flag and the window and sending automatic alerts to the administrator when such thing happens.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask GP Power Tools to give us a bit more information. So, that makes sense. Hold on a second. It is, I don't know, that one.
Close everything.
Yeah, no, it was that the resource info, don't need that again. So,
yep.
Close that one. Okay. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to automatically open when it gets an error on the security profiler, and I'm going to ask it, I'm going to turn off this option here so it's back to its default mode when GP Power Tools is installed, which is to give us more information. So that takes effect on next login. So you might just notice on this screen that the fields for company is much wider than usual. That's GP Power Tools doing that. Helps you if you've got really long company names.
Or multiple companies named that start with the same name, which is the case in our enterprise, where we have about 6 companies having all starting with the same name, but the end of the company name makes the difference. So the traditional login window is so short you can't make the distinction between the companies.
All right. So I hit create return, and now this is where we get. First of all, we get the same. You don't have security privileges, but now it's actually telling you that it's got the access has been denied to the window. It tells you the name of the window, both its technical and display names, and the dictionary it comes from. So straight away, I've got information that is useful to me. It also, I asked it to open the security profiler. So as a user, I will just go in here and I can say, export this, and I can either email it straight to my administrator, or I can export it to a file. So I'm just going to save this one.
And the administrator would be able to reopen it.
Yep, so we come back to here and I can pop into the profiler and I can say import. That's the one from today. So I've now got exactly the same record. I can see that he's got access denied. I can see the user and the company that they're in. So all of that information is available to me. So I can now say, well, I'm going to open up the security information window, and it opens it up pointing to David, access denied. Well, I already knew that he needs to be an RT agent for this to work. Okay, right. But I could look that up right there and then. So now I'm just going to double click on David, make him an RT agent, save it, and send him an email and say sorted. So if we come back to David now and we say open, create return, and I'm into the window.
Hey, isn't that fantastic? That's nice. That took about 2 minutes to fix the issue. How long would you have been doing searching for the problem without the GP Power Tools, right? So David, wouldn't it be nice if we could, on the fly, capture those information and out of that security profiler information create an entire new task and security role for something that is not common or something that GP doesn't have already out of the box?
Yeah, okay, let's do that then. So we've got our security profiler here. Now that is tracking everything that's opened on my system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to it, let's capture some stuff.
Good.
So I'm going to clear what's here already. So I've got a clean start. So let's say I need to give them access to, okay, let's have a think. We want a new role and they need access to sales transaction entry. They need to be able to open up the customer maintenance window. They need the lookups. They need to be open the address window. They need the lookup from that one, which doesn't work unless you've actually got someone selected. There we go. And maybe they need the, where is it, print the report. Hold on, choose somebody, print the report. Okay, throw it to the screen. So basically, I'm doing all of the things that are needed by this user for what they can do. And
As a
all
power
of that,
user.
Yeah, while I'm a power user. So, and we can pull up a transaction and we can expand. So we've got the sales without entry. So basically, you just go through and you open all your windows and your reports, and all of that gets captured in my profiler. So there it is. They're all captured.
Fantastic.
Okay, and it knows whether it was access to the originals or whether it's access to alternate windows. Everything's in there. All right, so at this point, I can just say stop the capture. And now it allows me either to update or create a new task.
Wow, that was great.
David,
No tinkering,
also,
no searching of resources.
I'm going to interrupt just for a second here, Phyllis. Can you show that flag again of how you turn this all on?
In the security profiler.
So we're in the security profiler. There is start capture of resources. And then when you finish, you say stop. And when you say stop, it'll open up this window and allows you to type in either a new task or an existing task. So you can either update or create new tasks, and you can also update and create a role.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have about 15 minutes left. Are we going to show some auditing features of the security profiler, David?
Well, what I will
or do we want to jump?
No, what I will do very quickly, we'll do this one, and then because this doesn't take long. This is satisfying your auditors. Quickly pop in security information. If I choose David and say show resources, this is now showing me the resources that David has access to. So I'm going to turn on all of the other modes.
Or it's resources, yeah.
Yep.
And then you can just print that.
We can.
Even better, export it to an Excel file.
Yeah.
And send that along to your auditors, right? So you can show them you're SOX compliant. You can provide any information you want.
Okay, so here we go. We've got a big list now. All the everything that they've got access to, we can say export it to a file as tabbed or comma delimited. Put it as tab delimited, export it. They can pull it into Excel and look at it any way they want. So
absolutely, filter out the records. Good.
All right.
Great. So let's go on. How many of you have been struggling with setting up new test companies or test servers in GP? You know, all that problem with carrying over the GP users, the SQL users, and all that problem, and then make sure that the new company you just created, the test company, gives only access to the users you really want them to get access. Now, GP Power Tools has a very new, very useful feature for administrator. It's called a GP database validation, and David is going to show us what it can do. So.
All right. So I'm going to run, first of all, an extremely nasty script. This script is designed to mess up my system in a major way. So it's got quite a few lines, and it does not to be run on a live system, but this is so we can demonstrate database validation.
We're on a demo, so screw it up.
Yeah, I have. Well, the script is run, and you'll see the amount of damage it's done. So I'm going to run database validation. So now database validation is not in the support debugging tool. This is new to Power Tools.
And it gives you the usual warning. So when you do the database validation, it's good advice. If you do that on a production system, which you fortunately will probably do one day when you do an upgrade or a migration, always have a database backup, full database backups before you apply this.
Yeah. That way, it's always a good idea. The other thing is it does mentions it wants all of the products installed. So if you don't have all of your products installed on all machines, which is my preferred way to do it, just make sure that all of the products are installed. So you can see I've got a few red flags and exclamation marks showing me that we have problems. So we've got lesson user 1. They're meant to have access to a company called Test, but Test doesn't actually exist. What else we got? Lesson user 2 doesn't have access to Dynamics and doesn't have access to the Fabricam. So we've got a few other basically things all messed up. So we'll run through and start fixing things. So I'm going to run this fix users first.
Quite a nightmarish scenario for a system admin, isn't it?
All right, so this is some of the things that we've identified. So for a start, the DynSA is missing. So we're going to create DynSA and give them a password. The DynSA is meant to be the owner of all the Dynamics databases, and they currently are not. So we're going to say, please take ownership. It'll create the user at the inside GP and create all the access records as well. Test company, this company here doesn't actually exist. So I'm going to say to it, please remove all references to this. There is no test database, so I'm going to get rid of that. I've got some users here that I need to deal with. So lesson user 1, basically these users exist in Dynamics, but they don't have access at the SQL level. So I'm going to say, well, give this one access at the SQL level, and these two, clean them up. I don't want them in my system anymore. The one that I'm giving access to, I will give them a password. I can also turn on the password policy and force them to change it on next login. So this is really good if you've just moved your server to a new system.
That's actually pretty nice because you won't have to reset the password manually for each and every user. If you have a large user database, that's a great feature.
Yep. So, and then finally, it will clean up any records in company access which are invalid, make sure that all the users belong to Dyn group, and create the missing database users. And a new feature is it's actually identified that there are users in the system that have access to a Dynamics database, but then at the SQL level, but they don't have access to the company. So if I don't want that, I do have the option to say clean that up as well. All right, so I've hit process and bang, and all of the red marks disappear. So
and that took
took
less than 5 minutes. Try to do that on the SQL Server Management Studio. It would take you way longer than this.
Absolutely. So we're going to do a couple more checks. Fix utilities allows us to look at the DB upgrade and DU20 tables, which are used by Dynamics utilities, and remove all the junk records from there. So anything for products that are not installed or companies that don't exist. So if you actually look here, you see I've got some things that are wrong, and I've got some missing databases. So these are all junk records in these tables. I'm going to hit process, and that will clean that up. So that'll fix that. I've also got a framework error showing. This little symbol here means I've got a framework error. So you have a look at my account frameworks. So this is showing me what is the account framework in the application, what's in the Dynamics setup table, and what's in each company. And we're going to actually see that we're going to get it to fix the settings in the system database because these ones here are wrong. See where it's done Dynamics?
That's actually more for our end user side with the accountants that are part of the demo here.
Yeah, so sometimes we've seen people where they've combined companies together when they've had amalgamations, and they've got different frameworks. So this actually can be used to clean up your frameworks as well. As long as you don't go smaller than your largest framework, then you're fine. So I'm going to hit process. That's going to clean that up. The framework error should disappear. Okay. So then the final thing I can do is I do have the ability to actually hold on. I need to hit process first. So this is now reading all of the tables, and if I open this up, you'll see that it's found tables, and so these are all the tables that it's found. So these exist in both Dexterity and in SQL. So there aren't any missings, but so now what I'm going to do is validate them. So now it's scanning through, and I'm only doing it on Dynamics just for speed, but you can do this on all of your companies. It's actually comparing the table structures to what's in Dynamics and looking for differences. Okay. So I do get a report, but I'm not going to read that now. I'm going to open up here, and I'm going to say we have some structure incorrect. These two tables have got incorrect structures. So if I have a look at this one, you'll see that the form name field in SQL is 99, but the Dexterity says it should be 79. Also, if I look in this one, I can see it's a slightly different error. You've got some columns that are the wrong size. So I could now say fix tables, and it will give me options of what to do with the table. So if the table's empty, it's easy enough to drop and recreate it. If it contains data, it actually has the ability to back up the content, recreate it, and
insert the data
and put the data back. So
it's actually a good, a nice tool, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is if it finds anything that doesn't have access to Dyn group,
fix it on the fly.
Access, it'll fix the grant of access as well. So basically, it will clean up your entire system and make sure that everything's working. So at this
That's
point,
actually very good for people that have to manage a system where they don't know if some customization have been done in the past, where table structure has been altered by a service provider or a consultant or whatever, and run into issues during an upgrade, and they can sort that out quickly with the tool.
Yep, absolutely. So this is the sort of thing that you can use when building test systems, moving servers, but even, yeah, if you run this prior to an upgrade, the chance of you having a failed upgrade are greatly reduced.
Yes, absolutely. That's great.
So, all right.
So we have 5 minutes left. That's pretty much the end of our demonstration.
Okay.
There's a lot in there.
Yes, thank you, Beat and David, for sharing this great demonstration today. Certainly valued information here. To open it up for questions, I'm going to unmute everyone's microphone. So if you do have any background noise or you want to remute yourself, you can do so by selecting the green microphone button on the GoToWebinar panel. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask a question that was asked a little ways back when you were running the debugging scripts for the first time. The question was, can we use GP Power Tools to run updates on fields created with Extender?
Any table.
Yeah.
If you know the name of the table, any table.
It is any table, but the Extender is a little bit more complex because it has a data model that's a little unconventional, which allows it great flexibility. So if you understand the Extender data model, yes, you can update it. It's all of GP Power Tools is completely multi-dictionary. It understands every single product in your system.
Nice, thank you. It looks like we have one more come in the queue. I'll read off. Does GP Power Tools affect performance on the workstation if the logging features are not turned on?
Absolutely not.
No, it won't. I just realized we didn't even show the company color thing. I'm going to quickly do that.
No, that's one of the nice features. I have been using, just to give a witness statement, I have been using the former support debugging tool and the GP Power Tools for the past 7 years or even more, and I have been that installed on every user's workstation, and nobody complained about any latency or slowness due to that tool. So, and even when you enable the logging feature, it's not slowing down the GP client at all.
Yeah, there is likely to be a little bit of a performance hit with when logging's turned on because it is doing more work. But whether the user can actually notice it, usually they can't.
Rarely.
Nice. Well, everyone, again, is on mute, so we can go ahead and feel free to ask your questions. We do have David and Beat's full attention and access to all of their knowledge and expertise, so let's take advantage of this and be sure to ask any questions that you have today.
Shoot them.
Not the people, the questions. So just so you see, I've been playing with the colors here. Basically, I can set up a different color for every single company. So let me swap into test company, and I'll make that one of the bright colors because these are fun to play with. So now if you have a look on the list here, you'll see that you can make test company hot pink and live company whatever colors you want. So that way
I can tell you
very much a visual cue.
This has saved many users from working in the wrong company since we implemented that years ago, because typically a test company, we would use a bright flashing color so people would be aware they are working in a test company. It's not always obvious when you work on multiple GP sessions at the same time, and even when you work in two different production companies, they see right away based on the color and which company they are. And I use a mnemonic trick. I use a basic color that shows the flag or is close to the flag color of the country. Since we are multi-country, I try to use, for example, a pale red for Canada, a blue for US, and a green for our Irish company, and today is St. Patrick's, so this is the perfect color for today.
It doesn't have to be the bright green. We can go for something a little
No, there's a more lightly green, and they're actually very nice colors.
There's a lighter one that's a little bit nicer, and I think there's a spring green as well.
I love that spring green.
So now one of the things is with Power Tools is in Support Debugging Tool had 16 themes. Power Tools has 52 built in, and Power Tools has the ability for you to change the colors in each of the companies without having to swap between the companies, because I've got this lookup and I can have a look at the color schemes. So that's new to Power Tools. There's quite a lot of bug fixes and feature enhancements in Power Tools.
Nice.
That was great.
We do have one more question/comment that came through in the queue here, and it reads, when I talked in our staff meeting about the GP Power Tools feature of sending emails to the admin with logs when a trigger fires, one of our developers asked about performance hits, especially when a trigger fires fairly often.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it'll do a little bit of work, but it's
barely noticeable by the end user.
Yeah, you can make the email automatically send, so it doesn't actually appear in their Outlook, or you can just save all the information to the shared folder, which probably will be less of a performance hit than actually emailing. Email's nice though, because it does mean you get a notification that the event you're looking for has occurred. So the other thing is, if you are logging, normally the situation is you're waiting for some error condition to occur. If the error condition hasn't occurred, you just discard the logs and don't actually do any actions. So normally, once the error has occurred, you will end up saying, oh, well, we've now got the logs we need, you solved that problem, and you can turn off the logging.
Absolutely.
So now, when the tool was first created, we had a case that had been running 12 months, and nobody could work out what was happening. The first build of the Support Debugging tool solved it in 4 days, and the only reason it was 4 days is because it was 4 days until they actually did the event which caused the error to occur, and at that point we captured the logs, and within the week we had a fix from the support team.
Yeah, I would say it's normal. There is normally no use for activating or enabling the logging feature all the time. You only enable that when you really have a need for it, because you have so you suspect something weird happening in your system, but you can't really put the finger on it right away.
So I can also, if I want to just capture something, I don't have to log out. I can just say turn on logging, do my actions, get the error that and then turn off the logs, and that's all now stored. So
Yes.
and you don't have to exit GP. You don't have to change anything in your dynamic your dex.ini file. It works perfectly well on terminal server because it only affects the current instance, so it won't affect any other users on terminal server. If you edit the dex.ini, that affects other users.
Yeah. All right, next question. How can I set colors to all companies on a dev server and set no colors to companies on a production server using the same FAT client on the user's desktop?
So it's a different server. Well, the color settings are stored in a table on your system. So they will, if you've copied from your, so if you've copied it from your test server, you might actually need to disable.
Reset them. Yeah.
Yeah, reset them. It is possible to update it, or in fact, even on your test server, all you got to do is pop into database, or actually no, if you don't want it on your live server, you just come in and turn it off.
Disable it. Yeah.
There it is.
It will still store all the colors, but you can just turn it off. The other thing you can do is if you've got users who particularly don't like your color scheme, you can actually turn off the color scheme for particular users. If they've only got access to one company, maybe they don't need the colors, so it shows you how many companies they have access to.
Nice. Okay, any other questions for David and Beat today? I don't want to let them off the hook until we've got all your questions answered. Well,
looks like we're done.
It looks like, yes, you've done a really great job. We just have a few comments here in the queue that I'd like to share. Just great webinar. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. We've got awesome. This is the coolest to be notified when an error occurs. So that made somebody very happy. Yeah. So,
and you can try it out. You just go to the Mekorma site and request a 30-day trial key to install it on your test server and try and play with it for a full 30-day.
And we've got one last comment. Awesome presentation. The security profiler makes my job much easier. Thank you. So that was a good one. So
I will give you guys a little bit of a hint. There is some new stuff coming in the next build. I'm planning something in security which is going to blow you away. So if you like the security features so far, there's more coming.
So let me end with one last question here. Just a quick 60-second sale on why would I upgrade to GP Power Tools if I already have the debugging system in place?
If you got so if you got the support debugging tool, why do I need to go to Power Tools?
Yes.
Well, for a start, support debugging tool is discontinued and unsupported. The GP Power Tools has a whole host of features that are not part of the original one, and I will pop in here to the portal. There is actually an article, 21 reasons why you should upgrade to GP Power Tools. So this is on the Winthrop site, and if you go to this is the Winthrop blog, I should say, and GP Power Tool portal. So you've got these 21 reasons. So I'm not going to go through them, but I've got already a list of 21 reasons for that.
Right.
If you also want to know some benefits of using the tool, this article here, top benefits, this article was broken down into end users, administrators, developers, and support engineers. If you need to go to management and say, this is why we need GP Power Tools, this article's for you.
This is really great references. David, what is the website again they would go to?
All right, actually we've got a last couple of slides we should throw. So we made it to the end, woohoo. All right, so GPU Power Tools portal is, okay, so winthropdc.com/gppt. The retired portal for the debugging tool is still out there. All right, so my blog is just winthropdc.com/blog. Viat's blog is dynegpviat@wordpress.com. And if you haven't found it already, my old blog, which is developing for Dynamics GP, a lot of good content on there, but as I'm not a Microsoft person anymore, there's no new articles. It's still one of the highest ranked websites, even though there's nothing new on it for ages.
Nice.
If you want to contact Viat or myself, email addresses, and we're both on Twitter as well. So feel free to post anything on Twitter, and I hope you found everything really good.
And you enjoyed it.
Last question, fellas. When is the next build?
Coming soon.
Okay, I'm not going to give you an actual date, but I'm aiming to have the next build ready alongside for the GP 2016 launch. So, and that build will be updated for 2010, 2013, 2015, and available for 2016. So it'll be available for those 4 versions. So I'm working on it. I have a big list of features that I'd like to add. So it's a matter of narrowing down what's on the wish list. But there is one thing coming for security that is going to be awesome. I don't know how long it's going to take me to write because it's going to be really complex, but the vision of what I want to do, you'll love it.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, I'd like to end today's session by reminding everyone that this session was recorded. You will receive a link to the content library shortly, so you can download the session again if you'd like. Again, I'd like to thank our presenters, Viat and David, for the great session today, and everyone else for coming. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all on a webinar real soon. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good day.